everyone, this is Laura with Laura Academic Astrology, and I'm here to give you the update for March 23rd through the 29th, 2020. Before that, I just wanted to go over Saturn moving into Aquarius, since it just happened last night. And this is a really big shift for Saturn. Saturn spends about 2.5 to 3 years in a sign. And so this will be the first shift into Aquarius since the early 1990s. So the last time that Saturn was in Aquarius was, I believe, like 93, 1990 to 1993. And so it's been about 27 years? 27 to 29 years is when Saturn returns back to the same sign that it was in when you were born, and so it's been about 29 years since we've had Saturn in Aquarius. So this is a really big shift. Similarly, those who were born in the early 1990s, you will be getting your Saturn return. So once again, your Saturn return is when Saturn returns to the same placement in your birth chart when you were born. Saturn in Aquarius. First of all, Saturn is a planet of commitment, obligation, duty, structure, order. It rules over things like our government systems that we have in place to keep things organized. Commitment, it's a planet of integrity, time and age. It's really a planet that tests us. And so often this is the case when we are going through our Saturn return, is there's this sense of being tested, and for us to experience trials and tribulations and maybe even hardships and challenges. Saturn is a planet that asks us to grow up. It asks us to restabilize things, to recheck our structures and our systems. How sturdy are they? How grounded are our ideals or our plans or the systems that we use to function every day? How much integrity do we have with these systems and structures? It's asking us to recommit in a lot of ways. Saturn is a planet that demands commitment and demands that you have a plan and that you work through whatever challenges that it brings you. So Saturn is known to be one of the great teachers in astrology. It's a planet that teaches us through trials and through tests, and really tests our commitment and our work ethic in a lot of ways. So Aquarius, Saturn in Aquarius. Aquarius is a sign all about humanity. It's a sign about what the ideal humanity situation looks like. So, if we think of Capricorn as what the rules, regulations, and systems within a city or within a wall, Aquarius is that which is outside of the city or the wall. It is that which is different or other or progressive, or it's all about bringing new ideas in, and it's usually a sign associated with being very radical. And radical can be both good and bad. Sometimes we need radical, sometimes we need a radical shift to shake things up, because the status quo can get a little bit terrible. It can get really oppressive. So Aquarius is all about the ideal, the radical, the humane, the progressive. It's a very group-oriented sign. So it's the sign that's opposite Leo. If Leo is the sign about the self, about me, about how can I shine, Aquarius is the sign about us, about the group, about what can we do for the collective, what can we do for each other. It's a sign involving social justice. How can we extend our hands to the downtrodden? How can we make sure that everyone's included? Aquarius is also a sign having to do with being the outsider or being isolated or feeling different or like you don't belong to the group. So there can definitely be that sense of being other, feeling foreign or different. Um, so, Saturn Aquarius, there's this sense of responsibility and commitment to the perfection of humanity, and to the humane and the ideal society. This could be very, very much like, okay, so things aren't working in our current system. Clearly, things are falling apart in a lot of ways, especially with regards to this coronavirus. Clearly our economic system is not sound, with 20% of people becoming unemployed. There's got to be some more structure in place, some more like backup in place, to be honest. There's got to be changes that need to be made. And so I really think that Saturn moving to Aquarius is very reflective of this time of, okay, the status quo isn't working. Let's take what's useful from tradition, from the past, from what we've always been doing, and let's leave the rest behind. Let's really look to the future and bring in what's progressive. Let's try new things, So, yeah, our focus will definitely shift to taking care of the group, to the collective, to social justice, which is probably a good thing. There could be also a tendency to isolate ourselves in the name of the group. So this is very Saturn in Capricorn and Aquarius, this whole self-quarantining thing, this whole self-isolating thing. It's very much, Saturn poses challenges and hardships. Isolating ourselves is really freaking hard. It's really hard. But Saturn asks us, well, this is your, what's your duty? What is your responsibility? What do you owe your fellow humans? And, yeah, this is hard, but it's what's got to be done. That's very Saturn. And especially Saturn in Aquarius, it's like, okay, we're going to self-quarantine, we're going to self-isolate for the group, for everyone else, for all of us together. There's also the potential for building walls between us or between groups in the name of being higher or better. Sometimes Aquarius can be a little bit arrogant. There's positives and negatives to every sign, and one of the pitfalls of Aquarius can be a sense of being a little bit better than, or higher, or better, different, as in like you're different from me. So in the 1930s was when the Nazi regime was gaining power, and that was one time when Saturn was in Aquarius, during that time when the Nazis gained power. So we have to be very careful about what we classify as other and what qualities we give other, right? Another general theme is things that are not built with integrity will fall, break, or be tested, will fall apart. We have to be careful of dogma, of radical ideology. Aquarius being a very ideal sign. We have to be careful of, what is our ideology? What are we dogmatic about? Aquarius is a fixed sign, meaning that it's the middle of a season. It's the middle of winter, and so planets that travel through Aquarius, or if you have natal placements there, there's definitely this fixity, this potential rigidity, and, on the positive side, this endurance. But we have to be careful about how committed are we to our ideals, and can we see other perspectives really? Can we, take into consideration other ideologies? Or are we solely committed to our own? And what is the danger in not being able to see another perspective? We have to really think about that. Let's see. Yeah, so, our sense of belonging will be tested with Saturn and Aquarius. Saturn representing the tests, and Aquarius representing that sense of isolation or feeling alone. Our authenticity will also be tested. Aquarius is the sign of authenticity and being real, and if Leo's the sign of being special or unique, or like, look at me, look how unique and my individual, look at my ego. Aquarius is the sign that questions that. Like, is that real? Are you really being yourself? Are you really being authentic? And so authenticity will definitely be tested during this time. Are you being true to who you are, or are you afraid of showing your true colors? You know, Saturn and Aquarius, are you fear of being weird or queer or whatever? Like, who are you, and will you have the integrity to express that? So yeah, I just wanted to, you know, talk about some themes there. You know, also Saturn was in Aquarius back in like 1903 during the Russian Revolution, and you know, when communism swept up that part of the world, and it was very regimented, it was very dogmatic, right? It was for the collective, for the group, but it was very like, this is the right way, and no other perspective is welcome here. So definitely things to think about with Saturn into Aquarius. And once again, I think I mentioned this in the last video, but Saturn will remain here for about 3 months, and then it'll actually retrograde back into Capricorn until the end of the year. And then Saturn will go into Aquarius for good for the next 2.5 years, starting in December of 2020. So it's kind of like we're getting a little test or taster of what Saturn and Aquarius will be like, and I really think that it's going to reflect the government's whole response to the virus. And then, you know, maybe like once the virus situation is over and, you know, we're not self-quarantining anymore, you know, we might go back to our old ways of doing things, right? To the old Saturn and Capricorn. What's traditional? What have we always done? Like who are things that will be coming up? And then, you know, once Saturn goes into Aquarius officially, it's like maybe the story will be revamped, or there's part of the story that's going to continue that is being brought up right now. You know, how can we take care of the collective, the group? How can we bring in more visionary ideals without being dogmatic? So just something to think about. So Astrology of March 23rd through the 29th. On Tuesday, the 24th, we have our new moon in Aries at 4 degrees of Aries. And this is, Aries is marking the astrological new year. So, you know, although the new year is technically in January, you know, Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. So it's our astrological new year, and it's all about manifesting what we desire, what our intentions are. Aries is a fire sign. It's ruled by Mars, the god of war. Right now, Mars is in Capricorn, which is ruled by Saturn. So there's definitely like a more structured, organized approach that Mars is taking right now. So this is more the idea of, yes, set your intentions. What do you want to manifest? But make a plan, and make it a long-term plan, and plan for security, and maybe be a little bit more cautious than you normally would. And that's, you know, pretty obvious with our current circumstances. Also, maybe go back to the intentions that you set at the beginning of the year. This is a good time to revamp those intentions. At the same time, this new moon is happening really close to the asteroid Chiron. And so Wednesday, the 25th, is when it's going to be exact. The sun will be conjunct Chiron at 5 degrees of Aries. And Chiron is an asteroid in astrology that has to do with where we feel wounded or hurt, or where we have pain, where we experience pain. And, you know, the sun, and especially the sign of Aries, relates to father figures, to people in authority, that masculine energy that we either had or didn't have growing up. And so there might be something about a wound around father figures, or our sense of individuality, our sense of self, our ability to be assertive, our ability to take action. There might be something that comes up for you psychologically, like feeling held back within yourself. You know, it can definitely be self-imposed. Oftentimes these planetary signatures actually play out through other people if we're not aware of it within ourselves, right? So this is the whole concept of as above, so below. So basically, like astrology or the stars or the planets are reflecting our circumstances down here on Earth. We don't know what's causing what, but there's definitely a correlation. And similarly, as within, so without. What we might not be aware of within might be occurring in our outside world and functioning as a mirror to help us get to know ourselves better. So definitely pay attention. And it could also be nothing to you. If you don't have any personal planets being hit by this, then you might not feel anything at all. It might be very small or not very noticeable. But definitely pay attention if you have any personal planets around 5 degrees of Aries, Libra, Capricorn, or Cancer. Those are the cardinal signs, and those will be the ones that will be maybe most felt or most hit by this conjunction. On Friday the 27th, we have Venus and Taurus making a trine to Jupiter and Capricorn around 23 degrees of both Taurus and Capricorn. So Venus is how we relate, how we connect, how we get what we want, how we attract things to us. It's money, it's finances, it's relationships. And Jupiter is what we believe. It's abundance, it's optimism, it's faith. And these are, happening in earth signs. And so this is definitely involving a very material realm. And, trines and sextiles are really easy, flowing, really nice aspects, but it's not necessarily that anything will happen to us, or there's not necessarily a confrontation like there would be with an opposition or a square. It's more about taking advantage of the flowing energy, so you might not even really notice it, but amidst this kind of crazy time, this could just be a really good day. Good opportunity for connection, for building or starting something in the material world, for being out in nature. I know we have to all self-quarantine, but we can still do that outside. We can still enjoy being outside, enjoy connecting with the earth. Good time to explore your value and your self-worth. Venus is what we value. And this is happening really close to Pluto and Capricorn as well. So the very next day, on Saturday the 28th, Venus is making a trine to Pluto in Capricorn. So remember, trines are about opportunity, about flow and ease. But Pluto is all about exploring the hidden, about exploring the unknown and bringing the darkness or the unconscious to the light. And often this is a very uncomfortable process, right? I'm pretty sure most of us don't naturally want to just know about our wounds and what our motivations are and what our unconscious attractions are. But that's Pluto's job in the zodiac, is to bring the stuff that you might have shoved in the closet when you were 8 or 14 and bring it out and dust it off and make you look at it. And so this is happening with Venus things. So exploring values, once again, what do I unconsciously attract? What do I want to attract? What do I want to act as glue in my life? What am I living up to my values? Am I living with integrity? Why? Pluto asks us the question why, and also, what is that ugly thing that you've been hiding away for 10 years? And let's take a look at it, So this is a good time for self-inquiry, especially with regards to relationships, attractions. So that's pretty much it for the week. Let me know how it goes for you. I'd love to know what anyone's thoughts are on Saturn and Aquarius, and if you know what houses is happening in for you. Just maybe write some comments in the comment section. I'm offering 25% off all of my astrological readings, at least through the end of March, potentially longer. So if you're interested in a little bit of self-inquiry, self-exploration, I would love to explore your chart with you. And if that's the case, let me know. You can, Facebook message me or write in the comments or email me at consultation@lauragadenick.com, or you can check out my website at lauragadenick.com. And specifically for booking a reading, it's lauragadenic.com/astrology readings. So I hope you have a wonderful week and everyone stay safe. Bye.